Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm Seth Udinsky. In our journey through history, let's travel back to the mid-20th century and explore a courageous group of American trailblazing pilots. These men were famous for their role in a two-front war. They joined the Allied fight against the evil Axis powers during World War II and contributed to that vital victory for freedom in the world. But also, these men, African Americans during a time of racial segregation, contributed to a fight for freedom back home as well. They were the Tuskegee Airmen. Now, in the early 20th century, America still lived largely under a Jim Crow society where whites and blacks lived separate but equal. And the sad truth of this is that the separation was almost never equal in terms of opportunity. The Tuskegee Airmen were born into this era. A group of aspiring African-American pilots banded together in the 1930s on the heels of great aviation accomplishments by pilots such as Charles Lindbergh. Under the threat of looming war, President Franklin D. Roosevelt issued an ordinance allowing these eager black pilots to begin formal training for service in 1940. The main base for this endeavor was in Tuskegee, Alabama. It was called the Tuskegee Experiment, and this group of young black pilots proved vital when they were called to the European theater to take on the German Luftwaffe in World War II. These men flew in P-51 fighter planes, which would famously become known as the Red Tails. These brave aviators destroyed scores of German bomber planes in the skies above Europe. They would shoot down a total of 66 German planes from the years of 1943 to 45, while earning numerous accolades for their courage. After the victory for their country in the global theater, the airmen found a victory on the home front as well in 1948, when the U.S. government legally dissolved the segregation that had governed the U.S. military since the Civil War. Historians credit the Tuskegee Airmen as one of the driving forces behind this monumental moment. And in 2007, roughly 300 living members of the original Tuskegee Airmen were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal by President George W. Bush. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History.